All right, good evening. When I came to Cal Poly, I joined our Collegiate Cyber Defense Competitions team, CCDC. This competition consists of us entering a business environment as new system administrators. And as a team, we have to secure the systems we are given and prevent hackers from attacking us. We have to make critical decisions about which operating systems to run. And I researched this more fully, and I've discovered, and I will now prove to you, that Linux is inherently more secure than Windows in a business environment. Alright, so first of all, when I say inherently, I do not mean that Windows cannot be made as secure as Linux. Instead, I'd like to propose that Linux is easier to secure and is more likely to stay secure than a Windows installation. I'll prove this to you in 3 ways. First, I'm going to prove to you that Linux's base install is more secure than a Windows-based install. That the file sharing services on Linux are more secure than the Windows one. And also, that Linux, because of its open source nature, is more likely to have its vulnerabilities patched quicker than a Windows installation. First, Linux's base install is more secure than Windows in a multitude of ways. First, CERT, Computer Emergency Readiness Team, a government program, has a scale based between 0 and 180 for vulnerabilities found on systems. The top entries for Linux were rated at 38 and dealt with issues with PDF readers, Oracle SQL databases, which hold massive amounts of data, and Adobe Flash Player, so mostly user-based applications. Windows top vulnerabilities were scored at 94.5, 94.5, and 78. And the top 2 were based on Microsoft's Remote Protocol Controller, which is a necessary service for Windows, especially in a business environment. Also, when one downloads a Linux installation medium, whether it be CD, flash drive, or any other way of installing, it is always with the most up-to-date drivers, up-to-date kernel, which is the base of the operating system, and the most up-to-date programs. Windows, on the other hand, only offers updates on their installation medium with their service packs, which can come out as infrequent as every 6 months. Secondly, I'd like to prove to you that the file sharing services, which are critical for business environments, as their databases must be accessed across all services, are more secure on Linux than on Windows. Windows primary file sharing service, SMB, has vulnerabilities that allow full system access, through programs like Metasploit, which are used to test security. And their main vulnerability, MS-08067, exists on all unpatched versions of Windows prior to Windows 8. The new vulnerabilities for this same service are also being discovered at a very rapid pace. Linux, on the other hand, has only vulnerabilities for their specific FTP programs, such as ProFTPD, and no exploits have come out for any of their file sharing programs since 2010. Thirdly, because of Linux's open source nature, vulnerabilities are found and patched at a much faster pace. Therefore, a Linux install is less likely to be able to be hacked. In 2008, a security flaw was found in Microsoft Internet Explorer, which everybody knows is pre-installed on every Windows installation. And because of the time that Microsoft was taking to fix this patch, Trend Micro, a security firm, urged users to use another browser until Microsoft managed to release its patch. Open source, which means that the source code, the files written to create the programs, allow community releases of such patches if the actual company does not update them in time. What this means is that if a vulnerability is found on a Windows installation, you might have to wait up to a month to be able to have your Windows installation secure again. Whereas if you're running an open source program, like any on Linux, it will be patched within days. So, after hearing all of this, I hope you'll agree with me that Linux is inherently more secure than Windows for business applications.
All right, Chris, the structural things on the speech are very solid. You've got a clear statement of the proposition, a good preview, your internal signposts are clear. We know where you are at any given time. I think you have excellent explanations of what the issues are that you're talking about. Even to lay people, I think they're relatively easy to follow. You do a nice job building some personal credibility by talking about this issue from your context and the experience that you had. I do think that you've got a lot of information in the speech, and I'm assuming that the information is probably accurate and came from someplace, but there are a lot of places where I don't get any source citation on that information, and I'm just getting conclusionary sorts of statements. The first thing that you do give a source citation on is the CERT ratings, and so we got some data on that, and I thought that was pretty effective to start with. But after that, there's what appears to be a whole bunch of factual data, which again I think sounds pretty effective, but I don't get any source citations on it, and because this is a field in which most of us, well, I won't say most of us, many of us, or at least me, I'm not involved in that. I don't doubt that what you're saying is accurate, but I would like to know, for instance, that some of the things that you're talking about are true. For instance, you say that you might wait up to 6 months for a Windows patch, and I'm going, okay, well, says who? What evidence do you have to suggest that that's true? And then you say that the open source is going to have it closed within days, and I'm going, okay, based on what? This sounds pretty conclusionary stuff. Now, again, I don't doubt that what you're saying is probably accurate, but I'm having to trust you entirely. And since you are, gave us some good credibility issues to begin with, I'm inclined to believe you. But I think I would feel more comfortable if I had the source citations on those points. I thought you did a very nice job also presenting to the audience and keeping us focused on this fact that this is a speech, not just a technical breakdown of these issues. All right, thank you. All right, let me just double check. Devin and Michelle still need to speak. Is there anybody else that for some reason we did not get to before? All right, we'll hear those two people first thing on Monday. Well, I should say first thing, because the first thing on Monday